What a passage, eh? We like the rainbows bit, don't we? And the rest of it, we'll quickly get that over and done with and move on, shall we? But that's what I like about, plodding through the Bible and not sort of picking and mixing. We've got to deal with the difficult bits, the bits that as, modern readers, we read it and we think, what on earth? What on earth is all that about? And what's God saying to me today in Oldham? Okay, so I will try my best. It's a strange passage, isn't it? We've got to get our minds into the story. And some strange things going on here. In the lists of the brothers, Ham is listed as second, but he's the youngest brother. So why is he always second in that little list? I'm an English teacher, so I just kind of notice those little things. And the author really wants us to know that Canaan is Ham's son. Why does he keep repeating himself? We only need telling once. Why does he keep going on about that? Canaan is Ham's son. Canaan is Ham's son. Why does he do that? And why does the son get cursed instead of Ham? What's that all about? If Ham did the wrong thing, why didn't he, get cursed? What's it got to do with the son? And the details are a bit scant, aren't they? It's quite harsh storytelling. It doesn't sort of give the whys and the motivation. It just says, this happened, that happened, the end, and you're sort of thinking, what on earth is going on there? So Noah's just come out of the ark. How old is he? You have to look back a bit at chapter 8. How old is he? Have a guess. This is encouraging to us. He's 601 years old. And I just want to show you a picture. This is what birthday parties were like in Genesis. Absolutely bonkers. God blesses Noah and his son, and his sons. Yeah, so, later on, there's a bit of cursing going on, but, in verse 1, God blesses Noah and his sons. Yeah? And he tells them to go and fill the earth. And then God makes some rules. Animals will be scared of humans, verse 2. And there's probably good reason for that, because they're food. So, this morning, our silly cat wouldn't come home, and I was dashing down the road trying to get this daft cat. It was scared of me. It wasn't food, but it needed to be inside where it was safe. And then, a bit later on, God says, don't kill each other. Right? Can you imagine? There's only 3 sons on the earth, and he's already, God's thinking, right, they're going to be at each other's throats later on. It puts our family problems in perspective, doesn't it? Don't kill each other. Can you imagine, as early as that? Otherwise, you'll have it coming to you. And then he makes another rule, which is quite interesting. He says, I'm going to protect you from me. I'm not going to flood the earth again. And I'm going to put a rainbow in the sky to remind me not to do that, just in case I forget, So interesting storytelling, isn't it? And the author of the writer of this passage wants us to know about this rainbow. He repeats it 3 times. So I don't know what he thinks his readers are like, but it's a bit like teaching, isn't it? You've just got to say it again, and just in case, say it again, and then give the same thing as homework, and then you're sort of going on and on about the same thing until people get it. Right, and then the story sort of switches. Noah has one too many. He forgets to put on his PJs. Then one of his sons comes in, sees him in his birthday suit, goes outside, tells the other lads about this. The other 2 lads come in and cover Dad up. Then Noah wakes up and starts cursing and blessing. The end. What a story. Yeah, I've had to deal with this. I did send an email to Ben saying, how would you approach this? So, a bit harsh, isn't it? That's a modern reading of it, A bit harsh. Wasn't it Noah's fault? He's the one with the booze in his hand. He had one too many. He wasn't controlled. And he didn't clothe himself. What's that got to do with anybody else? That's a sort of modern sort. That's how I felt. I thought it was a bit harsh, isn't it? And the storytelling doesn't really give us any information about that, Doesn't say anything really, it just says it happened. And you've got to think, the way the story is described, it's almost like Noah sort of passes out by the opening of his tent, and the son sort of ambles by and sort of sees him there. And perhaps he found it funny, and he went and told his brothers. But this isn't camping in Wales, I just want to show you a picture of typical... Oh, there's some rainbows, yeah. That would be a typical tent, It's a home. It's very, very large. You could probably put a whole, family, generations of people in there, but it'd be divided up inside. This is a nomadic people. It's not camping for fun. It's necessity. So it's really set up as we would set up our house. Noah would have been in the middle of that. He wouldn't be sort of on the side by the entrance for all to see. And in verse 22, Ham has to go outside and tell his brothers so that the brothers go inside. So logic says that Ham went inside. This isn't a sort of ambling by. He had to make a physical decision to go inside. And, you think, this is like our bedroom. I don't really ask you how you dress at night when you go to sleep, but that's the privacy of your bedroom. And, a modern reading could say, well, he should have put his clothes on, really, but, it doesn't really say that. It doesn't say that it was wrong to get drunk. He was in the privacy of his own bedroom. Ham went inside into an area that was really out of bounds. He had no real business being in there. He didn't really belong in there. Why did he go in there? Doesn't say, does it? And in response, the other brothers took a garment and covered up their dad. Now, I'm an English teacher, so I'm just fascinated about languages and sort of delving into this story. And it says a garment. Doesn't your rendition say a garment? The little word doesn't it? But in the original language, it's the. I don't know why it's translated like that. In the original language, it's the garment. Now, the brothers took the garment and put it on their dad. So, I'm reading into it a bit. Did Ham take the garment and sort of dance around in the street and take the mickey out of his dad? I did email my tutor back at Bible college, and he said, don't be daft. Don't read too much into it. But it's just a thought, So the brothers would have nothing to do with it. The brothers would have nothing to do with whatever happened. Utmost respect. Can you imagine putting the garment on their shoulders? It's quite a balancing act. Walking him backwards, covering up dad. They upheld his authority, didn't they? They showed him the utmost respect in the midst of really quite a shameful situation. So verse 24, Noah wakes up. Well, he's passed out, wasn't he drunk? And he finds out what Ham had done. That's an interesting sentence, isn't it? He found out what Ham had done. How did he find out if he was passed out? How did he find out? Did someone tell him? Was he the laughing stock of the entire street when he poked his head out of his tent? Did the brothers say something? Did the neighbours have a go at him? We don't know. It just doesn't say, does it? I mean, some people think that Ham did something quite sinister there. Something really quite gross and evil to his dad, or even to his mum. Because in verse 24 it says Noah found out what his youngest son had done to him. Well, what did he do? He doesn't say anything. We can think of all the awful possibilities. We only need to turn on our computer or the news to know that the human heart never surprises in the new evil things it conjures up. We can't imagine And yet somebody thinks of something even more barbaric to do to other people. So whatever happened in that tent, it was serious enough for Noah to curse. Think about living relationships in that family. How many more years did Noah have to live? It's encouraging to me, It says 350 more years of living in that family with those people. After you sort of said, oh, you're like this and you're like 350 years. I don't know about you, but I feel encouraged. I do, yeah. And he lived to the ripe old age of 950 years. That's pretty incredible, isn't it? How do you remember things? Or don't? Do you choose not to remember? That's something else. How do you remember things? You can shout in church, it's all right. Yes, write it down, yeah. And the older I get, the massive lists of things to do. Yeah, write it down. How else do you remember things?
You link them to what you know already.
That's interesting. Could you give us an example, Margaret? Sorry, put you on the... Forgot. Yeah. That's right. If you see something else, you think, oh, why on earth did I put that orange there? Ah, right. I need to phone. Interesting. Yeah, good. The people tie a little knot around get a bit of string, tie it on the finger. One of my favourites, because it's easy, is you just get a marker pen and make a silly mark on your finger, and then 3 weeks later you think, oh yeah, I forgot to get the milk. It's funny how people remember things. But how does God remember things? From the text today. How does God remember things? Thank you. Thank you, sir, at the back. Yeah, he puts a sign in the sky to remind him. God needs reminding. He sees the rainbow and he says, oh yes, I won't pulverize the earth with water. And 3 times it says that. 3 times. Let's have a look at some of these rainbows. How do you feel when you see a rainbow? Let's have a look. Oh yeah, that's Peak District. I don't know if I like this website. It's called BBC Photo. Oh no, it's called England's Big Moment or something, or England's Big Picture. Absolutely fantastic. Normal people like you and I just send their pictures in. I had a look at this. This was Peak District. It was described as a 1 in a million light party. I like that. That's good. That's where we used to live. That's Buddhism's most revered site in Laos. The rainbow right over there. Yeah, we used to walk along there, and it was a good place to actually talk to people, because people would sort of come up and chat to you. Yeah, it's the Mekong River. It's a little bit. Can you see the rainbow there? It's a little bit faint. Yeah. I won't tell you about the time May fell in the Mekong River. You can ask her about it. She's still here to tell the tale. It's quite traumatic at the time. Oh, that's a bit closer to home, isn't it? Yeah, the rainbow. Let's see what's next. Oh, we don't want to see that just yet. Yeah. How do you feel when you see a rainbow? Happy, yeah. You have to have a really bad day, don't you, not to be stirred by a rainbow. It just moves you. It moves you something inside. You can't really describe it. But yeah, that joy, that happiness when you see a rainbow. How many colours are in a rainbow? The school version. Not the scientific version. You scientists. How many? 7. Do you know what they are in order? Richard of York gave battle in vain. Yeah, that's the one I learned. I shared it with my daughter. She said, what are you talking about? It's respect others, you grow by including variety. Yeah, that's the new one, yeah. So do you remember what they are? Red, orange, yellow, green. Oh, you're getting quiet now. Blue, yeah, indigo, and violet. Well done, yeah, very good. But of course, a rainbow isn't just those colours, we dumb it down, don't they, to make it easy to remember. It's a myriad of colours all mixed together. Perhaps even too many to count. They overlap and they're mixed colours. Well, think about this. The word rainbow in this passage is the same word that we use for a longbow or a crossbow. So I just want to show you a picture. Try desperately to find something, from the times that we're talking about. The internet really failed me, but just gives you an idea. What's that weapon for? Fun and games? Not really, is it? It's a hunting weapon. It's a weapon of war, aggression. We read about history about England's archers, establishing supremacy on the battlefield just because of the longbow. Think about this, God's hanging up his weapon of war in this passage. He's hanging it up, and he's committing to peace with his people. There's no more aggression there in the rainbow. And think about where God puts the bow. What happened just before this catastrophic, horrible flood where the waters came down and the waters rose up, and creation really, the way creation was set up, was undone. There was far too much water coming down from the sky. And when God put that rainbow in the sky, it's almost as if he's saying, I'm going to re-establish the boundaries of creation. And think about the direction of the bow. Where's it pointing? You're very quiet. Steve's pointing up. He gets the right answer. Yeah, you get a sweetie later. Yeah. God's war bow, his longbow, he's not pointing down at his people. He's pointing up into the heart of heaven. Jesus. Right, let's go on to the next slide. Think about the shame of that situation of Noah, the shame of it. We might not have forgotten to put our jammy bottoms on. But we do know about shame, don't we? We do understand that idea of shame, even though we don't really talk about it all that much. But we only have to look around us and turn on our gadgets and interact with other people to know that the people of this world seem to spend a lot of time keeping up appearances, covering up and presenting a certain image of ourselves. And people appear able, confident, happy, strong, educated, whatever that image that you want. People like to put that image forward first. Because if people really knew what we were like, life might not be so friendly anymore. The people around us might not be so accommodating to us. And there might be consequences. There might be relational or financial consequences if people really knew the real me. So we spend a lot of effort trying to cover up. We think of Adam and Eve. They covered themselves with leaves, didn't they? And they tried to hide from God. But relying on ourselves and boasting in our own name, relying on our own name, it's quite disrespectful to God, isn't it? Really disrespects God. And surprise, surprise, we feel alone. We feel disgrace. We feel a bit of anxiety. And like Noah, it's almost as if we feel that we're naked and we feel shame. The great news is God has not forsaken us. He has not forsaken us. He hasn't left us alone to get on with things by ourselves. Think about what he did with Adam and Eve. Must have been pathetic, wasn't it? Covering yourself with leaves. Well, God came in with proper clothing for them and covered their shame. And that just makes me think about Jesus. Because God pointed his bow, his rainbow, it's the same word, at Jesus, at his own heart, at Jesus. I just want to show you a photo. Like Ham's brothers cover up Noah, Jesus covers up our shame. He covers up our shame through a disgraceful death. That is a shocking death. Absolute disgraceful. The cross restores God's face and brings us such a warm welcome into God's family. We are his worthy children. It's like sitting down at a meal together and you're fully accepted at that table as one of God's worthy children. So next time you see a rainbow, may we be reminded that there's no condemnation in Jesus. There's no accusation. There's no denunciation. There's no humiliation. There's no shame for those